Hello and welcome to my video today. I'm going to be testing out a brand new CCS DC fast charger that's in my metro area. This is a new Electrify America and it's in a Wegmans shopping center. I'm going to be driving around the Beltline to get my miles down. I'm currently at 16%, 42 miles remaining. Want to get it down to less than 10%. So that when I charge up, I'll do 10% to 80%, which is what I recommend to do when you're traveling on a long distance trip and you want to be going a long distance. I recommend a max of 80% because after that, the charge rate really dips down low. Unless you really have to, or if you're stopping for a meal, go ahead and charge more. But for the most part, charging from 10 to 80% is optimal when on the road. So I'm going to be driving to the location. I'm going to show you how it works and let's get started. Okay, here we are pulling into the plaza. This shopping center happens to have a 2-story parking deck, and I am going to be going on the first floor. And the nice thing about this is all of them are covered. Look at that. Pretty impressive. All right, so I am going to go to number 2 here. And here we are. So I am going to check this out. I have arrived at the site with 10% or 29 miles remaining. And here is the charge screen. I'm going to be charging from the 10 to 80% or so. By the way, here's the stats for my car. I'm going to hit 21,000 miles soon. Here we are in the parking deck on the first floor. We have the chargers labeled from 1 to 10, going all the way down here. What's nice about this is it is covered parking, so you can charge in the rain, in the sun, in the snow, and be comfortable. These are pretty new chargers. I don't think I've seen these before for Electrify America. Very thin cabinets. And let's get some info on the front here. Up to 350 kilowatts. We have credit card reader. We also have the display. It's not flickering as it is in the video. And let's look around this side. We have our CCS handle. Not much else on here as far as information goes. We've got some labels right here. So this is a BTC Power CCS charger, and there's some specs on it here. Here's a view of the back of the station area here. One thing is, it's not 100% covered by the parking garage, but that's fine because the cars actually are. One other car down here. And stations 9 and 10 are not working right now. The charger cabinets. And we have the transformer here. All right, so let's go to the car and start charging. All right, so I'm gonna start the Electrify America app. And we are at Regency Centers here. I am going to follow the instructions now, get my charge port open and ready. All right, so plug in first. Go around this way. I'm gonna select my charger. All right, so I'm gonna swipe to charge. Initiating charging. Let's go over to the screen and check it out. So as we can see, we're at 152 kilowatts. Not too bad to start off at. Let's see how high we get. Still maintaining about 162. 163. All right, 20%. Only took 3 minutes. Solid 165 kilowatts. Pretty good so far. All right, 30% with 167 kilowatts. Pretty darn good. All right, at 31%, we did see it ramp down a little bit in the mid 150s now. Not too surprising since the car does kind of do a ladder stair step downward as it reaches 80% capacity. All right, we're at 39%. It just dropped from the mid 150s to the 140s around this period here, which is pretty normal. And we're gonna be hitting 40% any second now. And we are at 40%. Took 11 minutes and it's delivered 30.8 kilowatt hours. And we're at 142 kilowatts. One thing I noticed during the charging session, around 30%, the charger itself started turning on its fans. It has exhaust fans that go all the way down to the bottom. And yes, you can feel definite amount of heat coming off of that. I'm also right by the charge port, and there is an amount of heat coming out here. You can feel right along the wheel well area, there's exhaust heat coming out. All right, we hit 50%. We're at 125 kilowatts, 41.2 kilowatt hours delivered. Not too bad, 16 minutes. All right, we're at 60%. The drop now is 103. All right, we just hit 70%. It dropped from the 90s to 86 kilowatts. We use 63.4 kilowatt hours, 28 minutes so far, and the cost is $34.83. This is one of the things that I recommend if you're on a trip and 70% allows you enough miles to get to your next charging destination or to your final stop. Sometimes it's just better to stop at 70% instead of charging up more, because you can see a huge difference in charging speed We're about 75 kilowatts slower than what we started, so big difference. I'm gonna be getting the number at 80%, and that's normally where I would cut off, but I wanted to show you what happens if you go above 80%. I'm gonna show you 75% now. We're at 81 kilowatts. So it'll keep on dropping as we go on to 80%. Okay, we're getting close to 80%. All right, we hit 80%. Just slightly under 75 kilowatt hours delivered. We dropped from 80 down to 40 kilowatts. Took a total of 36 minutes and a total of $41.38. I'm gonna let it go for a little bit longer to show you the drop. It's gonna be around that 40 kilowatt zone, 39, 40, 41. Sometimes it even ramps up a little bit as it gets on to 85%. And there we go, 81. I'm gonna stop it right now. You could also use the apps to stop charging. All right, so please unplug. There's all the final information I got. 76 kilowatt hours, 81%, 38 minutes, 56 cents a kilowatt hour, which is a little on the pricey side. The things I do for my channel, and the total cost is $42.56. So I am going to unplug it now, and I'm done. And here's a view of the charging stations down below. And the supermarket is above it. So, parking in the garage, I'm gonna take a ride on the escalator. And there we go. There is the shopping center. And there is the Wegmans grocery store. All right, so I'm done with the charging. Here are the charts from the session today. Here we have a chart. I have the kilowatts on the left-hand column here going from 0 to 200, and on the bottom I have the state of charge going from 0 to 100%. Of course, in this test I went from 10 to 80%. So here we go. As you can see, it started ramping up and it got pretty good numbers here. It kept on rising until about 30%, and we saw a high of 167 kilowatts. Then it had its first drop, and then it continues on to about 40%. We had the second drop, and then about 45%, we had another drop, and then just more frequent drops as you go down the chart here. And as you can see, it kind of levels out around 60 to 80%. Even though it drops as it goes on, it kind of increases as it goes on. So kind of interesting on that. And then the big drop happens at 80%, or actually between 80 and 81%, where it goes from just below 90 to around 40. During your charging on trips, I recommend starting at 5 to 10% and going up to 70 to 80% max. And if you have reason to go above that, just to let you know, it takes longer to go from 80 to 100% than it does from 10 to 80%. Let's look at the next chart. This was done last year, actually December of 23. About a month after I got the car, I did my first DC fast charge on an EVgo 350. And as you can see, it did charge faster. And there's a number of different reasons to see a discrepancy. Back then it was cooler weather, so there was no issues of any overheating or thermal issues with the charging system. I think there was some heating issues at the EA charger, and it was getting pretty warm, and the weather was almost 90 degrees, so I think that had something to do with it. I think if I redid this at about 20 degrees less ambient temperature, I'd probably see something similar to what I did in December. So there's a lot of variability. Could be the car, it could be the charger. It's hard to say. But in any case, this gives you a good idea of the different ranges when you're charging on a 350 kilowatt CCS. It's kind of like the best case scenario in the gray, and then with the blue, I would say it's an average scenario. Let's go to the last slide that I have, and the blue and the gray was on the 350 kilowatt. And then just to give you a different charger, the orange is the 150 kilowatt CCS. And as you can see, it tends to max out at about 100 kilowatts on that one. Very interesting way that the chart goes. It actually ramps up from, I think I started at 4%, all the way up to 70%. It kept on increasing, which is pretty unique. I haven't seen anything like that before. And then over 70, it starts dropping down. And at the end, when you get to 80%, it's actually even lower than what it was on the 350. So kind of interesting how the charging goes on different charging systems. So if you're at a 150 kilowatt station, it's not so bad. But obviously, if you're on the 350, you'll get the max charging speeds for a longer period of time. Well, that's about it for the video today. A successful charge from 10 to 81% at the new Electrify America station. There are 10 chargers here, pretty impressive. And the nice thing is each stall is individual, so none of them share any charging between them. So there's no loss of charging if you're parked right next to another vehicle. And pretty good area to have the charging station. We're less than, I would say, a quarter mile from the Beltline highway, and we have a bunch of restaurants in the area along with the grocery store right behind me. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.